What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the finale of the Bad Batch breakdown here on Cinefanatics. My name is Chris Adams, and as always, I'm joined by the fan favorite himself, Adam Witt.
The other Adams. We're the Adamses. Welcome to the Adamses show.
Is there a connection to my last name and your first name and Star Wars? We don't have time for that.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. Our parents should have named us both Luke.
Right?
Oh, I was going to play the Bad Batch and I got the volume up.
Uh-oh.
Hold on 1 second.
Copyright. No! What's going on, guys? Welcome. As always, we are talking about the final... We're talking about the final episode of the Bad Batch here. This is, I believe, Camino Lost. So this is a big one. This is the one that wraps up the first season of the Bad Batch. So we'll chat this episode, kind of chat our thoughts on what we thought about the entire season as a whole, and where do we see it going in season 2.
Yeah, what a journey this has been, huh?
It has been a journey. It has been all over the place.
I mean, the fact that they destroy Camino at the end of it, and basically this episode I wrote in my notes was basically the Poseidon adventure in some ways. You know,
yeah,
the entire thing's upside down. They gotta escape. They have some catching up to do with Crosshair, and they have to do that on the run while trying to get out of this collapsed thing. With like all the James Cameron danger that you could possibly want, you know, like this is pure abyss, and this has just got every possible threat to them, putting them underwater, running out of oxygen, running out of battery, running out of this, running out of that. It's like, yeah, it's this is as James Cameron described Terminator 2 or Aliens, 70 miles of bad road.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the kind of episode I would have actually liked to see like a live action movie from. I would love to see like we have to make this daring escape in a live action Star Wars at some point. Like that'd be a ton of fun.
It would be. I mean, that would be a really good, just a whole movie. Like Star Wars has set such a standard that when you make a Rogue One or you make a one-off movie or whatever, you still have to give it the full, like Solo, a Star Wars story. You still have to give it everything that you gave episode 4, So I would love to see them do something simple like a Poseidon adventure, just one premise in the Star Wars universe. But, they give you some full Star Wars here. I mean, this is where we get it,
Yeah, and that's what I like, that opening shot. I was just reminded of it because you're playing it back there, but I reminded that opening shot with just Rampart just staring out of the cruiser at Camino, like blowing up and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, he's part of the Empire. This is an Empire move right here, to stand and watch.
Oh, to stand and watch with your arms behind your back on the bridge, Yeah. Like that is an Imperial move. You can almost hear Krennic saying, "Oh, it's beautiful."
Exactly. What I love though is that you had a trooper come up behind him, which we could tell is still another clone trooper. They're still sprinkled in there because you can hear the voice and everything. But I heard some uneasiness in that trooper's voice. He was saying like, Camino's going down. It's falling apart. Everything's like falling underwater. Like he had to convey that my home is destroyed.
So, yeah, exactly. To confirm, sir, my homeworld, my birthplace, it's been destroyed. So, yay us.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So that's all cool. Are we the baddies?
Yeah. So this was a great episode. I really, like you were saying, the very Poseidon adventure, very like, I was on the edge of my seat pretty much the entire time. I was like, is someone not going to... I mean, here's the thing. These are all new characters. They were introduced at the end of Clone Wars. These are all new characters specifically for this show. Of course, I don't think Omega's going to die here, but like, right. I'm expecting like, is one of these guys not going to make it? Are we going to do like a last episode of the season, pull on the heartstrings? Someone's not going to make it. And well, everyone made it, but
yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be Omega. I thought maybe AZ was good. I thought that was, but I'll tell you what, for nobody dying, they certainly gave you all the feels at every moment that somebody was about to die. The danger and peril in this is unparalleled, I guess, in the series so far. But I mean, yeah. So you think you're going to lose AZ because, yeah, I mean, this is just such a James Cameron episode, that it's just one bad thing after another. And of course, this goes back into our favorite thing about the Bad Batch is there isn't any task, mission too impossible, and they get them stacked on top of each other. And this one is like, okay, we're all going down, and now that you're still in a ship that's about to hit rock bottom of the ocean, and and it flips on its side, and then suddenly they're hanging, like in an elevator shaft type situation, like in Revenge of the Sith, and then it hits bottom, and they're all like, it shudders them all to the bottom. Then they got to find their way to get some oxygen, and they find that the tunnel, which is a really cool setup. I loved in that episode. It was now 2 episodes ago, I think, that they parked the ship, way out at this secret platform so they could sneak on. But that also happened, and then Omega showed a secret tunnel, and it's just like, and now 2 episodes later, you're like, oh, they're going to use all that to escape, and that's also why their ship wasn't destroyed when the Empire blew up Camino. Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. Also, kind of reminded me a little of Clark Griswold parking at the very end of Wally World, so that at the end, they're parked closest to leave. So
thinking ahead.
Yeah, a little Clark Griswold move there, saved the day, I think.
This was interesting though, because this episode was, I feel like it was like set piece after set piece of. How do we get out of this situation? How do we get out of this situation? Like, you had the opening, just we're stuck in a city that's being blown up and being completely destroyed. How do we get out of this? To, all right, well, now we're at the bottom of the ocean. How do we get to the top of the ocean? Yeah. To like, we're in the tube and there's this, the structure of the tube seems unsteady. How do we get through that? And then you've got, okay, well, I think we just keep walking, we'll be good. And then there's this giant sea monster that is going to attack this thing. if the electricity isn't going, it's like literally it's was it Murphy's Law? Literally everything that can go wrong will. Yeah.
Yeah, and before all that too, when the whole thing tips up, the water is flooding, and about to drown Omega, and they're trying to get the door open, which is very Aliens. Again, this whole thing is very James Cameron, because there's all these compartments that are designed to hold air if things go, much like on the Titanic or whatever, designed to hold air. And so then the very first thing is they're trying to get Omega out of there. And I think, isn't Omega trapped with Crosshair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And AZ, Crosshair, and Omega are trapped together, yeah.
Yeah, while the others are trying to get him out. And the amazing thing about this is, it's set piece after set piece, but along the way, there's a lot of wrapping up that has to be done, because Crosshair has just returned to the fold. He's not changing one bit. That is Crosshair's personality. So at every step of the way, he is saying, "Oh, do you have some kid do your work for you?" Like, he is just the best character, because he's like, he sucks, but he's great.
And he's like, every step of the way, he's doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, even when it doesn't make sense. Gordon over here made a really good point. Since we haven't seen any of these characters after this show, and like any other shows or movies, we don't know who's going to survive at any point. True. So yeah. That's the thing. I mean, they could have killed Crosshair in this episode. I mean, I would feel he needs a redemption arc, so that would have felt weird. But I didn't think they were going to kill Omega. I thought mostly AZ was going to bite it. Yeah, because AZ at this point, like, we know him. He's been in the Clone Wars, so we've known him for a while. But like, he's a droid, so he almost feels like the most expendable out of the crew. Yeah. Yeah, you can take out R4, we're not going to shed too many tears for R4 in Revenge of the Sith, you can take out a droid here and there. He still had a personality though, so when that sequence came up where he was saving Omega and probably wasn't going to make it himself, I was like, oh no, AZ.
Well, and let's set that sequence up too, because once they made it through the tunnel, they got away from the giant creature, which I have to look up that creature's name. It's another cool underwater creature.
It's like a giant turtle thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, for as much as we know about Camino, which is now gone, we only know of, like, one creature, which is flying things in Attack of the Clones. But, of course, it's going to have so much underwater life. And also, the beauty of this episode, the animation of this, that atmosphere that they get underwater, and they're constantly surrounded by it. You know, walking through that tunnel, and you know, you're seeing in the background just all this world and the debris falling, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful episode.
Yeah.
But their plan, again, the A team here is like, how in the world are they gonna now they've gone a tunnel even further underwater, you know, and like now how are they gonna, but they're beneath the ship, but they're like, how are we gonna get up there? And they hatch this idea of these tubes that I think they were all born in, basically, like adult. There's various sizes of tubes for creating clones. You know, there's the big ones we see, the big spindle ones with the little tiny babies or whatever. But these are obviously like bigger and I guess it's Lamasu's office, right? So that's where they did all the experiments in these tubes, right?
Nalase, yeah, it's Nalase. I'm getting all their names confused.
I know. So. Well, there's only one to remember now. It's Nalase.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, so they're climbing in these two. I was wondering, like, okay, how do they get out of the situation? Like, well, we could just climb in these tubes and we could just float to the top. I'm like,
oh yeah,
sure, why not?
I mean, yeah, I'm like, oh, what a brilliant idea! I just love that. But then, of course, continuing the 70 miles of bad road, there's stuff still falling, and it's, you know, these things are made of glass, and so that's where AZ comes in and says, I'll guide the tube up. But it's already running on reserve power. And then, so they all start floating up. But of course, Omega gets caught with some debris and starts being taken all the way back down to the bottom.
Yeah. And this was a situation, too, because like you see AZ's power go out. He's donezo. And she's like floating up to the top. She's like, no. Bless her good-natured heart. She goes and risks herself to go save AZ.
Yep, goes down knowing that she ain't going to make it back. This is a one-way trip, just like in The Abyss. I'm telling you, the James Cameron references are flying right here, man.
Yeah. Oh, and this line too. I've completed my objective.
Oh, no. I know. It's such a heartbreaker, and that's the moment where you go, look, we can get rid of AZ. Like, nobody's going to go. I mean, Omega, you're like, there's a lot of secrets left to this character. We got to figure out what's going on with this character. But AZ... That character could have never come back, and we'd never be sitting around going, God, I wish AZ would come back. They brought it back as a reference. Yeah, exactly. And so you're like, this could be AZ's last journey. And the animation at that moment, while AZ welds the metal to break it off so the tube starts going back up and starts guiding the tube back up and then just powers down. And those C-3PO eyes, you know, you hate to see C-3PO eyes go dead. You know, so AZ, we feel some emotion there. It's got C-3PO eyes. Yeah. And then just starts falling away like a Wall-E, like it's kind of like a Pixar emotional moment. Oh, my God. No. And they cut to the wide shot of the tube and just the thing falling away, and it's just gorgeous, atmospheric of the ocean. Really, that's a really great moment.
And then we get the surprise character moment from Crosshair.
Right. They get to the surface.
He looks like he's holding the gun up to Hunter, like, you know what? No, we're done. We're done with this. I'm going to take you out. And then he just shoots it's the grappling. He shoots it down, saves AZ and subsequently Omega as well. And it's like, there's good in him yet.
Yeah, he's the Vader redemption character in this one. You don't redeem Vader in episode 4. You don't redeem Vader in episode 5. You do it in episode 6, you know. So I think Crosshair may not get redeemed next season either, but I bet that over a 3-season arc, much like a trilogy, that he will come back. But I do love that too, because his expertise is being a sniper, and so he pulls out that gun, and they're like, "Oh, great, we really have lost Crosshair. He's going to kill Omega." And I really was wondering, like, what in the hell is going on? But you know, he never misses. So of course that grappling hook goes down and boom, snatches the tube, or snatches Omega. I can't remember what, but
snatches. I believe it snatches onto AZ, and she's like holding on to him.
Oh, right. So. Oh, that's right. Because Omega then decides to sacrifice herself to go and save the droid, and immediately drowns. You know, and just starts floating. So that was a great moment, because Crosshair's using his expertise, and Crosshair is so parses the heroism and villainy or whatever, the logic of his actions with, he didn't give a crap about that kid. He didn't give a crap about these guys. They all disobeyed orders. They all should be put in jail. And he doesn't care about this little girl, but she saved his life. So he owes her one, but just one. That's the way Crosshair does it, you know? And so as soon as he saves her, he throws the gun down. It's like, that's it. Oh.
I mean, he's a soldier still, and there is honor among soldiers. So
right.
He's still working off of an honor situation, even if he doesn't completely agree with their ideology at this point. That's what's interesting to me, though, and as Garth brings up, he's not evil, just misguided. Right. That's what's interesting to me about Crosshair at this point, is because what we were thinking, I feel like you and I just had the completely wrong idea about Crosshair and how they were going to bring him back this entire time.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Well, it is awesome. And also, not only did we have the different assumption, they hid from the audience until last episode that he had his chip removed. That was hidden from everybody. That was a great reveal. No, I've had my chip removed. This is who I am. Oh, that was such a great moment. God, man, I just love this character. He's the best. Because you're not going to get redemption out of this Imperial officer, whatever the hell his name, I forget every week. But Rampart.
Yeah.
You're not going to get redemption out of him. He's not the redemption arc. The redemption arc is and you don't always get a redemption arc in Star Wars. I mean, in the major pieces you do, but is there much of a redemption arc in Solo or Rogue One? You know,
yeah,
not that much. It's small stuff, but this is a major redemption arc that's going to play out over the next 2 seasons, frustratingly, I bet.
And it's an interesting one too, because we're sitting here thinking that the second Crosshair sees the Empire kind of turning on him, and essentially leaving him for dead, and destroying Kamino with him inside, that is going to be like, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the Empire isn't all it's cracked to be.
They never let you off that easy.
Even to his own life, he's like, no, they're doing what they had to do.
Right.
They're power in their position.
He understood that they tried to that they were just doing what they needed to do. Like, he didn't take that personally at all, because that is a part of their mission, and he understands that inherently. It's a real good character. And
what I think happened is that he is somebody who just got so jaded from being in the Clone Wars for so long and seeing the civil unrest in the galaxy, that now he's, as a soldier, looking at the Empire going, well, they're bringing peace. Cool. I'm going to keep being a soldier for them.
Yeah.
And I think that just might be where his mindset is at this point. He even repeated the line, good soldiers follow orders still, even though he had his chip removed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a part of him. That's not from the chip. He's always felt that way. The chip just turned him on to kill the Jedi in his immediate vicinity. That's all, and that's it'd be so easy to make these characters black and white, especially these characters. These A-team, you got your radio guy, you got your shooter, you got your strong guy, It'd be easy to make these guys black and white, and some of them are fairly black and white, but the depth that they've added to what should be the most black and white character, what a terrible guy. He has a logic in his head that after he acts on his logic, you just can't help but go, from his point of view, he's right, from a certain point of view. So, yeah.
This is an interesting, Gordon said, I think the Empire just told him they removed a ship. And that's possible. I think
might have forgotten that.
They spent a little, too much time showing the scar on the side of his head, which I know that he got that from, he got a little bit of that from the engine blast as well that he took to the face.
True. That's true.
But at the same time, I still think that they lingered on it too long for it to not be him having had the chip removed at some point too.
That's a cool plot point. That's a great idea, actually, because then in the future you can still turn him back. I do have a feeling the way this show treats characters and shaves them with a razor's edge, I have a feeling that would undercut the drama of him making a choice in this one. So I kind of would be surprised if that's a later plot point, because that would kind of undercut the big reveal of, no, I don't have a chip in my head. This is how I believe. And you guys betrayed us, and screw you. And I'm going back to the Empire, because at least they know what they're doing. At least they know how they're spending their day.
Yeah. And just kind of the way he was talking to them, some of the things that he was saying, it sounds like he's fully cognizant of his own actions and who he is as a person. It's not, I'm being forced to do this kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
no, he sounds exactly like Crosshair in the Bad Batch episode of the Clone Wars. Like that's how Crosshair's always before Order 66. That's how Crosshair was. So I mean, I think it's fairly accurate. Man, what a good character, though. I mean, he is just this. He's everything I've always loved about Boba Fett. Just this guy who's got his own, trying to make his way in the galaxy. He's just got his own code. He's not on that side. He's not on that side. Although, at this point, Crosshair is clearly on the Empire's side.
I'm really curious, like what they're going to do with him though going forward, especially going into season 2, because he's going to go back to the Empire, and they're going to be like, "We don't want you. You were helping out the our enemies here. What are we going? We're going to kill you. What are we going to do with you?"
I don't know if they're going to kill him. I think what will more likely happen is he will go back to the Empire and say, "Let's go get those guys if they want." But I think he will go back, and it turns out he survived, and great, step back in line, soldier. And something about the way he parses right and wrong, not good and bad, right and wrong. The way he parses that is going to fly in, the Empire will fly in the face of that in some way. And it will be a very razor thin logic to it. But the way we've gotten to know Crosshair, we will know when that rubs him the wrong way, and that they will no longer be following their orders. They will no longer be adhering to a code the way he does. I think as we get to know, I think he's going to spend all next season with the Empire. They might even turn him into a big bad. They might turn him into a Darth Vader, give him a whole new outfit, make him make him something extra special, make him more of a Boba Fett, and he's going to be the villain for the Bad Batch. That we, much like Darth Vader, which in the first, episode 4, that's just a bad guy. That's just a guy in a black mask, and screw that guy, and hope he blows up with a Death Star. Yeah. And then as of, Luke, I am your father, everything's just different. And now when in Return of the Jedi, you see Darth Vader, and you just can't go, well, just blow that guy up. Now you just can't blow that guy up. They've had that this whole way with Crosshair. And so that is just, again, Dave Filoni speaks fluent Star Wars. Like, he really nailed this character. Of all the characters in the show, Crosshair has been completely nailed. It's pretty awesome.
I think it's a good comparison to say Darth Vader, because I mean, you saw the situation with Vader and with saving Luke from the Emperor. He's on the side of the Empire up until his own inner rules and everything that he abides by gets challenged, and then he picks up the Emperor and throws him down a shaft. Right. I think it's the same thing. I think it is the same thing you're going to see with Crosshair until he actually realizes the Empire's hypocrisy or whatnot himself, and it goes against his inner rules. He's going to be with them.
Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned there that I'm reminded as well is the moment we find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father, the next scene we have with Darth Vader is in Return of the Jedi, and it's with the Emperor. So now we have a big bad. We have someone we hate, So Crosshair is standing there next to Rampart, who we hate. He's next to, Tarkin, who we hate. And so he's kind of got that thing going on from the beginning where we don't have to, if you got those three lined up, I mean, we're obviously on Crosshair's side because these other two guys are actual evil,
Yep.
Yeah.
Like this, you think as Garth says, he thinks as more clones turn against the Empire, Crosshair's job will be hunting down deserters. So that could be interesting. So turn him essentially into a bounty hunter specifically for the Empire kind of situation. I like that idea.
Right. God, I hope it's a very Crosshair-centric season, because I think Garth is completely onto something there, because what you're going to have throughout the next season is Crosshair learning right and wrong from a new way, because the world has changed. He hasn't, but the world's going to continue to be changed. Now he's going to have to hunt down other brothers that, it's like family. And I mean, Omega says it at the end of this, this is your brother or sister, your sister and brother. Yeah. So I think next season it's going to slowly, Crosshair's going to have to parse his black and white look at the universe very slowly throughout the course of that season. And, it's going to be things like, you save my life, I'll save yours. You do, that's transactional sort of thing that's why we like Boba Fett. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be all over next season. That's going to, and yeah, he'll be hunting down deserters, like hunting down, like they hunt down the Jedis. But now the clones are their own dying species, much like Jedi. Now they are the Jedi of this storyline, that they are the ones that are dying out and slowly being taken down. And I don't know how many of his brothers Crosshair can bear to see killed. Right. That's going to be tough. Yeah, there's going to be so many deserters because we barely scratched the surface on that in this season.
Right.
That's so cool.
So the way the episode leaves us off, and the way essentially we get left off with the season, is exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, right here.
We get one last little shot. Yeah, I don't know who she is.
She's an Imperial science officer. I recognize that costume from Rogue One.
Yeah.
New character.
So we see Nala Se is dropped off with the Empire to do their bidding. What is thy bidding, my master? Yeah, to do their bidding and whatnot. And obviously, I think we talked about this before. It seems that she's going to do some little science cloning stuff with them, and we've seen that past all the Clone Wars and all that in the future with like clone of Palpatine. What are they trying to do when Grogu comes on the scene in The Mandalorian? Right. So there's definitely some stuff at the Empire and later on into the First Order that we see like cloning stuff is still prevalent. So I do believe that, this Nala Se being in the Empire's clutches at this point is fully heading in that direction. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting what they cook up, because it's probably not going to be anything like they're not going to be cooking up Snoke's, but they are going to be cooking up something that's going to be the new big bad. So the new clone troopers, they're going to be fighting TK troopers and whatever these big hefty ones are that are in this one. I love these guys with the glowing old clone trooper helmet. But they're going to build some other menace, with Nala Se. But she's not the last Kaminoan alive. There's others out there that are,
surely.
That race is a cloning. That's a cloning planet. You can destroy. They just destroyed Tapoka City, which is the birthplace of all of these people. But there's other cities on Kamino, and they are full of cloners. And Nala Se, is no longer. This is turned bad. This whole cloning thing that started in Attack of the Clones. This has just turned so bad, and so now she is not going to want to put her vast knowledge of cloning into killing more innocents. And I think there's still a lot of Kaminoans there that might help her out. That I like how Kamino-centric this series have been. Of course, they were all born on Kamino. It makes complete sense. Which, by the way, if I could take a jump back into this episode, I also loved how they laid out the emotion of, and we said it last episode too, but it's now in the story of Omega, of Crosshair trying to figure out Omega, and they're in their birthplace. This is our original bunk. They went through basically their life on Kamino in order to escape. So it was almost like served as a flashback episode in a way of like, no, this is where we were born. This is where you were born. You and her are sisters. So that was a pretty interesting thing to do as well. And I hope they don't drop Kamino next season.
Right. Especially because early in the season we saw them hanging out in their bunk, like the same wall where they're scratching off, was their kills or whatever they were scratching on the wall there. So we saw that earlier in the season. I like how they did the duology there of playing it back and forth. One of my favorite shots, as we're back in Camino, one of my favorite shots as they were escaping was the clone chamber where all the embryonic clones were in their tubes, and seeing that fill up with water, I was like, that's another big shot right there. Watching it go under.
It's like watching your baby bassinet get flooded or something. You're like, that's where I spent my first 9 months of the year of my life.
Right. So they did some really interesting stuff with this episode. Some really interesting stuff with this first season too. I'm kind of curious why they didn't leave us with. They left us with a little bit of a cliffhanger here, but they didn't. I don't feel like they left us with a whole lot of a cliffhanger. Obviously, the cliffhanger is what's Nala Say up to? What is, they just left Crosshair on Camino. Is the Empire going to come pick him up? But the Bad Batch themselves, they're just off. They're gone. They're flying off, and they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly fine right now, just flying off on their own. They weren't kind of left in any kind of like dire situation themselves for a cliffhanger. So
no, it's a really cool fresh start for next season. That they have to. That they're gonna. It's probably a year will pass or something. In Star Wars time, the way they do that. So what is their goal even at all? And we know that Crosshair is going to go back to the Empire, and we're going to see him live his life there next season. What are these guys up to? Probably spend a lot of time stopping Crosshair from. I mean, they're going to be in on the saving the deserters as well. In fact, I mean, next season might be the arc of them. All they want is just get away and just go, just live their life and just leave all this behind. Like the world they knew has been torn out from under them. That's it. We're done. And constantly the heart and soul of the group, Omega. If Omega wasn't there, they'd all be hiding out on some planet for the last 13 episodes,
For sure.
She constantly is the heart and soul and says, no, we've got to help them. No, we've got to help them. No, we've got to help them. Well, that's going to become their mission. I mean, it's the rebellion, basically, the idea of like, we can help people. It's the same journey that Han goes through in Solo of like, well, maybe I can help people. Everybody's got to make that choice in Star Wars of like, are you just going to stand aside or are you going to actually join the fight? And they keep trying to push themselves aside, stand aside. They're only doing all the missions were just because they needed to they owed money to Sid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it might be interesting to see what they do. I like what Gordon brings up here. They might be helping out Rex more. I think that makes sense too, because we have yet to see Wolf come back, so he's still going to be out there somewhere, and Wolf has to link back up with Rex and Gregor because they end up together in Rebels. So we'll see that mission, I'm sure. So
right, so much stuff has been teased this season. Yeah, Rex, Gregor, Wolf. As soon as those characters are saved, they just exit the story. But those guys are going to be trying to save their brothers, who are now going to be hunted down. Rogue clones. I think Garth has really called this one for next season. It's going to be rogue clones being hunted down by the Empire, trying to probably doing it with TK troopers, and they're going to have to become the heroes and become one part of the rebellion. As I said, it dawned on me that the words Rebel Alliance, which I've repeated since I was 7 years old, just as a word, I've realized recently with a lot of these ancillary stories, there's a lot of separate groups. They were not allied. That story of how they became allied has never been told. I mean, there's just amazing, awesome gaps in Star Wars history that could be filled with lots and lots of content.
especially when you're talking about the fact that we're coming off of like the Separatists versus the Republic situation. The Rebel Alliance is not only made up of people who supported the original Republic, but it's going to be made up of people who were supporting the Separatist movement also. Yeah. There's an alliance between these two bigger factions making up a bunch of little factions because everybody just in general hates the Empire.
Right.
So
yeah. Where's Naboo in all this?
Yeah. That's the one planet I really want to revisit at some point is Naboo. What happened to Naboo?
For as much time as we spent there, that culture, those people it's never been picked up again. So
yeah,
it's easily could.
So as a whole, I mean, like this season was really good. Great first season, great introduction into a period of time in the Star Wars canon universe where we haven't gotten to really explore. Like we've done a whole lot between, prequels to original trilogy, between Rebels and whatnot, like seeing some of that kind of form Rogue One, but to really see the actual pivotal time period of there being a transition between clones to recruited soldiers and how does that work? How does the Empire build itself up in that time period? This has been really interesting. And I know that we definitely get to see more going forward in this series as well.
It's the story we didn't know we needed. You know, I mean, Star Wars stories feel so complete, and then you get it to a show like this or Rogue One or a thing, and you're like, there is so much Star Wars untold, and that's what's non-Star Wars fans, rightfully because they're not that big of fans, are like, are we still flogging this property? And you're like, you don't realize how much is not in Star Wars that is referred to, or any of them, you know, and it's a way of storytelling for Star Wars is to say, okay, let's refer to the last 5 years. There's a whole bunch of stuff happened. The Clone Wars, yeah, okay. And then we're off to Mos Eisley. You know, what's the Clone Wars? You know, it's pretty cool. And it turns out, like, yeah, when they went to, we knew at some point they didn't use clone troops because they weren't clones in Episode 4. And then Force Awakens opened up that box and said, oh, what do you want us to use, clone troops? And you're like, wow, at one point did that happen? And now we're seeing that happen.
Right.
Garth makes some good points here, by the way. And at the end, when Nala Se is brought to an Imperial facility, the woman is wearing uniforms, same design as the arm patch as Pershing in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Is Pershing, what's his face? So heavily implies they need Nala Se to help with cloning work on people with high midichlorian counts like Palpatine and Grogu. Yeah. Which, of course, is going to wrap back around to... Yeah, okay. And, of course, that's going to wrap back around to... Because we don't know anything about Omega. That's just so funny. We spent the whole season. We don't know anything about her. What was her experiment? That she made her small? No. She's like, you know, that made her look like a kid? No. So, you know, I think we know that there's something going on there.
I still think Omega has a higher midichlorian count. I still think we're dealing with somebody who is, you know, rocking some force abilities here, whether they're undeveloped or whatnot here. I mean, you look at how much compassion she has. That's a sign of, you know, someone on the light side of the Force. That's
some Jedi stuff right there.
How intuitive she is, you know. The fact that now we have, like, Nala Se was working on her. She was like Nala Se's child, essentially. Now Nala Se is being recruited by the Empire to potentially work on other Force-wielding beings. So... yeah, I think we're laying down some groundwork that, for sure, like going forward, we're going to start seeing some stuff develop in Omega. So
she hasn't been developed at all. I mean, well, they've all been developed somewhat, but I love how they slow roll these developments. We're going to look back from season 6 and go, my God, the ground they covered, you know?
Yeah.
To get wherever they're going, they're going to get there. And yeah, the idea of the midichlorian cloning, that she was the very first of that.
Yeah.
Oh man, because it has to start somewhere. You know, the clones had to start somewhere. The non-clone troops had to start somewhere, and we get to see all that stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But guys, I think we're at the tail end. I mean, do you have any final thoughts on this episode, about this season, what we can expect?
Oh, thanks to Gordon and Garth for hanging out with us here, because there's some great comments.
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff I didn't even think of that they're bringing up here. It's great. Like the idea that Gordon says here, seeing a grown-up Omega in the Book of Boba Fett. Oh,
I'm kind of down. I'm down to see.
Could happen. Hey, man, I can't believe they made it. You know, how many shows, how many movies? They started with a laser sword and laser guns, and it took them this long to get a laser bow. And she's the first character with a laser bow. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I mean, that could have easily been an Empire Strikes Back. Like, oh, this guy's got a laser bow. You know, Chewbacca has a bow caster, but it just fires bolts like anything else. It's it's almost part of the design. It doesn't do any bow and arrow stuff. Yes, Alpha and the Omega. Boba Fett is the Alpha. Omega is the Omega. So good.
Yeah. It's going to be some interesting stuff coming soon on that show for sure, especially with like all the other Star Wars TV. I mean, again, I love that Dave Filoni is here. He's behind everything. He is the heir apparent to Lucas's mind. So everything that he's doing is just so good, and just the interconnectivity that he's going to bring to all these shows is fantastic.
Yeah, and also the symmetry of Clone Force 99. Those numbers and Order 66 are too good. I feel we're in a situation here, much like the Avengers, where you want to hear the phrase "Avengers Assemble" in the first Avengers movie, but you're not going to get it until the end of Avengers Endgame, and I feel execute Order 99 to like turn the troops back on the, at their darkest hour, to turn those troops back against the Empire and win a decisive battle that will lead to the rebellion, or that will ally the rebels, is going to be like in season 6. So a countdown to that, I think. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So guys, like I was saying, this has been our Bad Batch breakdown. We've been doing all the episodes, so if you've missed any, feel free to go back and check out all of our thoughts on prior episodes. They're all up here on the Cinefanatics channel, viewable. They've both been me and Adam this entire time, kind of giving our thoughts. So it's a lot of really good stuff in there. We've had a lot of fun with it. But as we're wrapping up here, Adam, as always, where can the Star Wars loving kiddos out there find you?
Where can they find me? Where can they find Sean Sullivan? Wasn't he here for the first episode of this?
He was here for the first episode, yeah.
Where the hell did he go?
He disappeared.
Is he painting crap on Twitch right now instead of talking about Star Wars?
Probably.
We need to have a rematch. He and I need to have a rematch. We really want to have a rematch between us and build it up like anybody cares. You can of course find me on at the Movie Guys on Twitter and the movieguys.net on the internet, because what you want to do is find out what Paul Preston and I are up to. And the thing we're up to, we just released a brand new episode of the Ford Fiesta. We're going to try and get better at releasing those more frequently. But we just talked about Heroes with Henry Winkler, one of the first post-Vietnam movies. And it has the greatest, and I'm going to post it as a GIF on Twitter, the best entrance that Harrison Ford's ever had, which is in a orange Camaro doing 3 donuts and screaming his head off. It's one of the best. But we're watching every single Harrison Ford movie in a row. So we are up to movie 10 now. 10 movies into that career.
Wow. So many more to go, because Harrison Ford's career is expansive and wonderful.
It's expansive and wonderful, just like us.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either, but it sounded like a compliment or a put down.
I'll take it as one. Look, we had someone who Drew in the moment said, "Just found y'all, big Star Wars fan over here." Well, welcome. Welcome.
Well, hey, Drew, have you heard of the Movie Trivia Schmodown? You might want to get in on that too while you're discovering us here.
Exactly.
There's a lot of fun stuff in this little world that we inhabit.
Look up Movie Trivia Schmodown Star Wars. See some really great Star Wars trivia action happening there.
Look up Witt versus Sullivan. Epic match.
There you go. Guys, well, as always, we are the Cinefanatics here on this channel. You can find us, pretty much anywhere you do all your social medias at Cinefanatics MLP. I specifically am at Chris Adams MLP on the Twitters and the Instagrams and all of that. But the best way to connect with us as Cinefanatics is over on patreon.com/Cinefanatics. We do all sorts of fun stuff over there. As always, we do watch-alongs. We're doing movie trivia nights. We got one coming up on Monday. If you want to join that Maverick tier over on the Patreon, you can actually help us, because both me and my brother are a part of the Movie Trivia Schmodown's First Class League, and we're doing all sorts of stuff over there, just playing along with some trivia and helping us out, studying and whatnot, getting ready for those matches on those nights is some of the biggest help that we can get. And that means you can be like a big piece of us winning matches, hopefully. So that's a lot of fun. We're doing all sorts of stuff though on Patreon, so check it out. If you can't do that tier, I do recommend the $5 tier, the dude tier. That's the fun one. That's the at least the one to be on for sure. But anyway,
I got Garth has got the plug here. I forget what to plug sometimes. I was on a show and you were in the chat and I didn't plug this show, so you know how bad I am at that. But Garth says after this, the lead-in, go to check out The Basement with Maranopic. Canopic, Dan Merle, and Trevor Mattson. Very fun little show. Travis is a treasure of the Schmodown as well, as are Mark Canopic and Dan Merle. Yeah. And Dan Merle is like her Gary Delabate from the Howard Stern show on that. It's so funny. Yeah. He's just kind of running the show behind it, and it's her and not Travis. Is that his name? Travis? Trevor. Thank you. I was like, Travis, that doesn't sound right. And then just every once in a while, like Dan will pop in like, hello.
I'm here too.
Yeah, it's funny. So yeah, that's a good show. That's on right now. That's awesome. And I have to, but I can't stay and watch because I have to go to a double feature of Steve Martin in Man with Two Brains and The Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid at the New Beverly right now because the New Beverly is back open and it is my second home.
That's so nice. That's so wonderful.
I'm so excited.
Steve Martin is the king. But guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, subscribe to the channel. Come back. We do live streams and stuff here all the time. Anytime there's more new shows and stuff coming out, like the Marvel shows, Star Wars shows, we're going to be doing breakdowns and stuff of those. So definitely come back onto the channel, subscribe, hit the follow bell, what have you, the notification bell, and we'll catch you anytime we're going live and doing stuff. But guys, we want to thank you for popping in, for hanging out with us, for talking Bad Batch with us this entire season.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. Adam, it's been wonderful to have you here too.
It's been nice. It's been nice. I'm sorry my schedule was a little difficult sometimes. It turns out I didn't have as much time as I thought I had to do this show, but it's been great because otherwise I would now be 6 episodes behind. I'd be avoiding Twitter. I do this every time, and then I'm like, I'll catch up someday and then just watch them all at once. This was a much better way to do it, to immediately analyze it, to get well into the mythology, to guess what's happening next, be wrong sometimes, be right sometimes. I mean, that's like the full engagement of this show. It's been really fun. So yeah, thanks for having me on. It's really cool. And now I just am, instead of being 6 episodes behind, I just cannot wait to see what happens with the show next.
Exactly. It's been a blast. It's been wonderful having you because I know my brother, while he loves Star Wars, is not caught up with the animated shows. So it's nice to have someone here who has a passion for it. And Adam, you've got a passion for it.
Well, I'd say I do. And next season, small screen Star Wars is definitely coming to the Schmodown. Because it started in the FCL this season, but there's no way the next season it doesn't go small screen Star Wars to throw a big wrench in the works and really throw some changes into some of the matches,
Mix it up.
Gonna be interesting. I mean, I lost on a small screen Star Wars question to Molly Damon because that's Sereno, the fact that Dooku is from the planet of Sereno. That's, I mean, you could look that up in the books or whatever, but that is something that's from the Clone Wars, So
yeah, there you go. Interesting. Well, I want to thank you guys for popping in, hanging out with us, watching along, and as for Adam and myself, we'll catch you guys.
Star Wars! Nothing but Star Wars!